Hello everyone, this is Dave again. Welcome to part 2 of my simple QuickTime event tutorial based on the work that was done by the TJC Summer Project Club so far. Like I said, this is part 2, so if you haven't seen part 1, make sure you go back and take a look at that. Now, what we've done so far is we've set up our little Kismet QuickTime event thing here, and we had a little bit of difficulty at the end of the last tutorial. I apologize for that. There are some things that you have to do before the QuickTime event will work correctly. One thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you're in the right game type. So go to View and go to World Properties, and I'm going to type in game type as my search item there. That'll give you both default game type and game type play and editor. Okay. And you need to make sure that both of those are set to QTE Fighter Game Info. That's our game information class, and it comes with the code if you download it. So this is what actually adjusts the HUD and stuff like that. So it is necessary in order to get stuff working. Okay, so I'm going to pay attention now closely to my scheduled event after I go over very briefly what we did with the schedule event action up here. So let's just take a look at these real quick. First, I named it QTE test, which again is going to be the name that matches QTE test down here. That's what marries the schedule to this particular event. My delay I set to 0, my duration I set to 5 seconds, and the success time to 2 seconds, which means it's a 5-second QuickTime event. The animation should take 5 seconds, and the last 2 seconds of that is when they can press the correct key in order to succeed in the QuickTime event. I put up as the correct key for them to press. I put this up arrow, a red up arrow, in order to prompt them that they need to press the up arrow. And then I use the gold up arrow to indicate that yes, they did in fact successfully press it in time without pressing anything else first. I made the image width and height, I made it 64 by 64, just because that was the size that I made the image. Of course, it can be stretched and shrunk and all that kind of stuff. And XGAP, randomize, and sequence size we're going to save for later tutorials when we do some more advanced stuff. Okay, so that's what we've done so far. I'm going to go down to my scheduled event now. You'll notice that the default for a scheduled event, the max trigger count is 0, so it is very, very possible to set up a sequence of QuickTime events and have it, if somebody fails at some point, go back to any point that you want and continue the QuickTime event from that point, which is a very common thing to do in QuickTime events. And again, that works because the max trigger count is 0. This isn't an actual event anywhere in-game or a trigger or anything like that, so don't be confused by that either. Okay, so again, here I've got outputs for what to do when the QuickTime event starts, what to do when it ends, what to do when the success window is open, that's that last 2 seconds again, what to do if we succeed, and what to do if we fail. So to get started here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to New Action, miscellaneous log, and I just want to print some verification to the screen that this is working correctly. So I'm going to make 5 of these. This is not something you would normally do in your game, just because you don't want this stuff logged out. And I'm going to connect one of these to each one of these. Very, very simple. And I'm going to output some text for each one of them. So when I start, I'm going to output started. When I end, I'm going to output ended. When the window is opened, I'm going to output window opened. When I succeed, I'm going to output succeeded. And when I fail, I'm going to output failed. Oops. Oh my. Try to get that docked back in there. Okay, just a second. Sorry about that. I accidentally undocked my my properties window there, and it took me forever to get it docked back in where I wanted it. But okay, so when I fail, I want to output failed. Now, in order to make the QuickTime event actually happen, I do have to use that toggle node as well. So I'm going to right-click, I'm going to go to New Action, and Scheduling, and Toggle QuickTime Event State. And I'll just go ahead and go here from my started log, and I'm going to turn on the QTE state. This particular feature might disappear as we refine this a little bit more, but right now I decided it would be nice to be able to toggle the QTE state, which does two things. First of all, it allows the computer to accept input for the QuickTime event, so it changes what the up, down, left, and right arrow keys do. It may very well do that for WASD and space and stuff like that a little bit later on. It also freezes the player, because it's very, very unusual that you're able to move during a QuickTime event. If you think about all the cinematics and all that stuff that's going on, the camera angles, all that stuff has to be set up just right so that everything looks right. So you don't generally allow the player to get up and move around during the QuickTime event. That would sort of defeat the purpose of what a QuickTime event is. Toggle QuickTime state is very simple. There's an input to turn it on, an input to turn it off, and an input to toggle it. Just like any other toggle in Kismet. And you have to say what player to toggle it for, so I'm just going to go ahead and connect that over to there. Okay. Now if I demo this, when the QuickTime event starts, you'll see I can't move. I am wiggling the mouse around. The arrow eventually appears for the last 2 seconds. There, I did not press anything, and if you look carefully at the screen, you can see that it says that I failed the QuickTime event. That text might have been too small for you to see, but I assure you that is in fact what it said. Let's play it again, and I'll walk into the zone here, and you can see window opened. That time I did press the up arrow key, and it says window opened, succeeded, and then ended. Very good. So that means that everything is wired and working correctly. That's a very, very good sign. So what if I wanted to tie a bunch of these QuickTime events together, which is a very common thing to want to do as well? Let's just give you a quick example of that. I'm just going to copy this guy and paste it. It's still attached to that player, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want. And what I'll do this time is, if I happen to fail the QuickTime event, let's just go ahead and kill the player. Let's do new action. Oh shoot, I should have thought about this first. Okay, so if they fail that first QuickTime event, I'm going to go ahead and kill the player. And to do that, I'm going to go to new action, and I'm going to go to actor and modify health. And of course, the target is again going to be the player that I want to kill. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to set the amount of damage. It's currently at 0. I'm going to set it to 5,000, which should definitely be more than enough to kill him. And I'll connect my failed over to my modify health. Succeeded, on the other hand, I want to go ahead and go to the next QuickTime event. So let's do that. Let's connect my succeeded over here to schedule event. Now this is a copy, so I copied all of that stuff in there. Obviously I don't want to give it the same name because it would go back to the exact same QuickTime event, and that would end up setting up an infinite loop. So let's just name this QTE test 2. And just to show that the variance works, that we can actually change this stuff, let's change the duration to 2 seconds and the success time to 1 second. And we'll change this around a little bit too. I'll change this to down. And in order to make that work appropriately, I'm going to do a search on down arrow here. I'll use the red down arrow to prompt them. And I'll use the gold down arrow to tell them that they succeeded. Again, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and change these sizes as well, just to show you that that works as well. And I'll do 128 by 128. Okay, so back into Kismet here. Now I set up this schedule event, so obviously I have to create another QuickTime event. So let's right-click, let's go to New Event, let's go to Scheduling and Scheduled Event. Remember, this guy was named QuickTime Test 2. So let's do QuickTime Event Test 2. And this time when I start, I do not need to turn on the QTE status because it's still on, okay? But at the end, I do need to turn it back off. Okay. If I should fail, I'll go ahead and kill myself the same way that I did there. And if I succeed, well, I'm already turning off my QuickTime event, so I don't really want to do anything special there. So I'm not going to put anything on start, on window open, or on success. And let's just take a look at this. I should, if I did everything right, now have 2 QuickTime events. The first one is long, and the second one is much, much shorter. And you can see that the image was bigger, and it also was requesting the down arrow instead of the up arrow. So that's how you would go about stringing multiples of these together into a nice large QuickTime event. And there's a lot of potential here. I know that what I just did there doesn't look terribly impressive, but you're beginning to see the building blocks. In the next video that I highly recommend that you watch, I'm going to show you something that I put together as a demo for how this works in order to show the rest of the team. It's a little bit more realistic. It has a little bit more going on. I do highly recommend that you watch that video before you go on and work on some of the more advanced stuff. And I'm going to call that, I don't know, simple QuickTime event demo. So do make sure that you watch that before you go on to the next video. But that'll be the end of this one. Thank you very much. Bye.